And we're back.
Yeah. Yes.
I know it has been a long time, guys, and we do apologize, but we are back and we are ready to bring you guys your first official season of the Flight Podcast.
100%.
I hope y'all are as excited as we are to get started. Today, we're going to be talking about toxic femininity and toxic masculinity.
Yep.
Along with Dash's topic.
Yeah.
People should stop saying what's a real woman or what's a real man.
Yeah.
Those will be the two things that we kind of give our take on today. What's your take on the subject today? I think this is going to be
You know what? First of all, I think people, I just want to tell people that Flight is not only just the name of this podcast, but it's something that, that we attach to our everyday lives. Like,
Absolutely.
for the acronym is Fight Like It's Gonna Happen Today. So anybody can, like, what is your flight? Where are you going? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
What do you want to happen today? And so we're covering this, toxic stuff and, people outside themselves talking about what's the real man or what's the real woman. And these are coming from opposite sexes, which is, why it's such a hard topic to talk about.
Right.
Easy for me though. I mean, it's awesome, but
right.
Basically, we see it all over the internet now. Everybody's podcast is heavily on that. What do you bring to the table? Well, a real man would do this, and a real woman would do this, and there's a lot of division and just speculation all over the place. And I think that people should really just really start thinking and what do you do for yourself? Like, who are you as a person rather than, who everybody else thinks you should be?
Yeah, I think I got to agree with that. I'm really big on identity, and I think a lot of this can be traced back to self-identity and being self-aware. And those are some topics we'll get into later on in the season. But I think that kind of plays on each other. I think the toxicity part comes from trauma and childhood trauma at that, and that's another episode where we'll break down and dive into that portion. But I think a lot of this is environmental and learned, and just like that, it can be unlearned. You can change your environment and make a difference. If you want to be different and you want to attract different, you got to do something different.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I see it. I mean, me personally, I've had my own share of toxic traits. I won't pretend like I'm just so perfect. I had my own toxic femininity traits and somewhat masculinity traits, and I'll get into that here in a second. I'm going to dive too much into that. But yeah, I think that it's important to not only recognize it, but to talk about it and talk about ways to prevent it and talk about ways to unlearn it. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do here today. So I hope that you guys stay tuned to hear the whole episode so that you can get our take on toxicity from a feminine and a masculine perspective. I think that is also important.
Yeah. It affects everybody. I think, like I said, speculation is more or less causing the spread of the fire. It's adding gasoline to it. Nobody's really trying to find solutions. Everybody's talking at each other versus with each other.
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. So what are your main experiences with toxicity?
I mean, before I even really get into that, I think we need to break down some of these terms just because I'm really big on understanding things and providing clarity. So what is femininity? Basically, it's the qualities or attributes that are typically considered to be womanly. That can be defined as like being sensitive, being emotional, being affectionate, being understanding, being supportive. Those are seen now this is by society's terms, okay? Yeah. That is typically seen as a feminine or womanly trait. Whereas masculinity, in the same aspect, qualities and attributes that are regarded as characteristics of a man. Strong, courageous, assertive, decisive, independent, things like that. Authoritative. Those are traits that are typically seen as masculine, right. Leadership even, honestly. I think that it's important for us to understand what the words mean before we start diving into it. Now, with that being said, me personally, I believe that we have a bit of both. Men and women have a bit of masculinity and femininity. I don't think that it's just, one trait or one gender has this. I don't believe that. I believe that we can have qualities of both. I know that I definitely have qualities of both. Some more than others, but I think that I have I've had some toxic masculine traits in myself, and I've had some toxic feminine traits in myself, and I've recognized those things, and I've tried to do things to change that. A lot of that comes from my environment, my experiences growing up, the things that I witnessed, the things that I didn't witness. A lot of that is learned. Being around certain types of people, being in certain kinds of environments kind of elevated the toxicity, honestly.
Yeah.
Because it became normal to me. One trait that I find even toxic in myself, and I don't think that it's necessarily a feminine or masculine trait, but it's raising my voice and raising my tone to get my point across. I think that's very toxic. And I think it took me to be into a real committed relationship to actually understand that that's not okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's something that I work on daily, because I grew up in environments where raising your voice was normal. Talking over each other was normal. That happened all the time in the environments that I was in. So I think that, again, it takes a big person to recognize the toxicity and do something about it.
Absolutely.
So I mean, that's pretty much my take right now. I don't want to hog the microphone. I'll let you.
No, I was going to ask you a question because you're talking about identity, and that's one main thing that kind of carries. I can't say carries. Maybe goes hand in hand with all the confusion when it comes to feminine and masculine.
Right.
So my question is the feminist movement, right? Okay. Back when it actually first started, my perception, this is away from the facts. The facts of the matter is women wanted, the opportunity to choose what they wanted to do. They wanted to feel included. They wanted to be, people throw the word equal around so much, and then they miss the whole point of it all. Right. No woman said they wanted to be a man. They said they wanted to have the same options as men.
I think you might need to repeat that line, because I think there might have been some people that were not paying attention. They were probably mopping the yard and mowing the bathroom. So,
walking their ice cubes. Yeah.
But for real though.
I've never heard women say outright bluntly, I want to be a man. Because that just doesn't make sense. I know some women today, they love being a woman because of the power that it has.
Absolutely.
And, it's necessary to create balance. You know what I mean?
Right.
So with all that, because especially where I come from, there is an identity crisis, so to speak, that can be attributed to single parent households.
Absolutely.
So now you have a single mother raising a son, there's a break there. You can't teach this little boy how to grow up to be a man because you yourself just haven't been one.
Absolutely.
You can tell him what you've observed, and that's it. But so how do you feel about that? How does the feminist movement kind of fit into that?
I feel like that's a lot to unpack right there. But okay, so I'll say this without saying too much, because this kind of digs into identity, and again, that's another episode, and I don't want to give too much away because I did some homework. I did some homework, and I don't want to step into my later content. But I'll say this much: I think as a woman, trying to prove that I don't want to be a man is or has been a struggle, because I'm a very dominant being. Beyond a woman, I'm dominant. Right. It doesn't matter what my preference is. I'm dominant in my mind state. So there's a lot of characteristics that I have that are seen, like I said, as masculine, right? And so people equate masculinity with, oh, you want to be a boy. Well, no. I love being a woman. I love everything about being a woman. Right. I love women. Right. Let's be real. No, seriously though. I love women. So it's like, for me, trying to prove my my femininity to a man. First of all, I don't feel like I need to, but trying to prove that I don't want to be you, and being called toxic because I have traits that they may feel are masculine, or maybe they may feel threatened because maybe that masculine part of me is a little stronger than that masculine part of them. Ooh, I think I'm talking too much. No, but seriously, this is just, and again, this is all based on my personal experience, because I have. Now, most of y'all know that I am married, and I'm married to a woman. Most of y'all know that. But prior to this, I've dated men, and I've had men talk about the dominance in me and how that is sometimes threatening. And again, it's not that I want to threaten any particular gender or sex or whatever. I'm just who I am, and because I know who I am, I'm confident. And that confidence can come off as arrogance. Yeah, well. And there are a lot of women who, in my opinion, have those same strong qualities and traits. And we're seen as somewhat feminist, I guess, in a sense.
Well, my take on toxicity, bringing it back to that, it's just, so definitions are important. Right. And I think that people should always be accountable for their behavior, right? That's the main thing. So I think toxicity should only be used to describe someone who consciously chooses to behave that way.
Ooh, I like that. I like that word. I like that you said chooses to behave that way. Right. But see, and I don't want to dive into another topic. See, that all comes into being self-aware.
Absolutely.
And that's another topic that we're going to dive into later on in the season. We'll talk about being self-aware. I think the reason why we see so much toxicity, I hate saying that word because I have to really concentrate, toxicity, because I'm not going to have y'all out here mocking me. Okay. But yeah, I think one of the reasons why we see so much of it is because a lot of people are really not self-aware of it. Mm-hmm. If you're not self-aware, you're not going to do anything about it. Yeah. Just like I said, I didn't think yelling was a problem until I realized yelling was a problem. Yeah. Until I became self-aware of who I was in those moments. And I didn't like what I saw. Yeah. So I had to do something about it. Yeah. And it's a daily walk.
Yeah, not only that, people are actually, now, so for the people who choose to be toxic, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say listening to music, right? Okay. I love Future, okay? I love Future. Dirty Sprite 2 changed my life, okay? Because I was known as a nice guy, and Dirty Sprite 2 was a complete paradigm shift for me. But at the same time, that Future's personality is not my personality, right?
It's true.
Obviously, these are two different people. These are two different experiences. He had so much money. I didn't have that money. He was from another part of town. I wasn't from that part of town. And I was thinking, like, listening to music that encourages you to be toxic is using someone's temporary emotions, to live your permanent life.
Ooh, I like that.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you get in the car, you're on your way to the club, like you listening to City Girls, but that's not your life. That's not your life.
I mean, I feel you.
It spills over. Because you're repeating this, you're putting this into your psyche.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
You're programming yourself.
You using all the key words.
Telling you, like, no, this is not even you, and you're just putting this into yourself over and over.
And that is exactly why it's important to be self-aware, because when you're self-aware, you're aware that you're separate from what you're listening to. You're separate from what you see. You understand that you are not a part of it. Yeah. You're simply observing it. But you can't do that unless you're self-aware. Yeah. Because that, again, plays into identity. If you don't know who you are, you'll take in all of these different identities. Absolutely. And you'll become somebody you don't recognize because it's simply not you. Man, listen, you're making me hop into...
I'm telling you. And then, so that's one thing. That's another thing I want to notice is people who think it's cute or it's cool to be toxic.
Oh, God, I hate that.
The worst part about that is you don't see immediately the damage that you're doing to your personality.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Until it's too late. And now you're by yourself. Can't nobody stand to be around you. You know what I mean? And now you just wake up and you don't know who you are anymore.
Again, this all plays into identity and being self-aware. I'm literally telling you, all of this stuff is like layers of each other.
Yeah.
You have these traits because you've gained all of these things. You have these toxic traits. Let me be clear. You have these toxic traits because just like you learn good things, you learn bad things.
Yeah.
These things become a part of your life. You start seeing it every day. Now it becomes the norm.
Yeah.
Now you grow up, and when you interact with people, you start to display all of this toxic stuff that you've gathered as a child or an adolescent or whatever.
Yep.
Even into adulthood, even into adulthood.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious, even into adulthood, you'll gain some toxic things. Sometimes when you're not being yourself, when you're not feeling like yourself, you can easily pick up on traits that are unlike yourself. And the moment you become self-aware, you're like, wait a minute, that's so not me. That ain't even like me.
Yeah.
And that's when you start realizing, okay, I need to think about my environment. Where have I been going lately? What have I been doing lately?
That's the most crystal clear point, because I think we should have waited until this should have been the second topic that flew in, because the last thing I had was you have to learn to process your own emotions.
Absolutely.
The healthy way.
Yes.
Because if you don't, then you're just left with whatever you have access to. And so I know, coming from a Black household, what are emotions? You don't get to have those.
Like, excuse me?
You don't get to.
What do you mean
mad.
your feelings hurt? Like, you don't got no feelings?
You don't get to close the door in my house.
Say, man. And again, whether we understand it as that or not, that's actually traumatic
Absolutely.
to our psyche. Yeah. Like, you're taking all of this in as an impressionable being. I'm not going to call you a child or a girl or boy. You're an impressionable being at this point in your life. And you're taking all of these things in. Then you get older and you start projecting these things into your environment. And so now you have a spouse or children or both. And now that's seen as normal. But it's really not. Now you struggle to display emotions. You struggle to speak to people. You just struggle in so many aspects. You don't even understand how much that affects you later in life until you're later in life, you know? Yeah. And again, you have to make a conscious decision to choose to be aware.
Man.
And sometimes you might not like what you see.
Right.
I didn't like it.
Right.
I thought it was very ugly.
Yeah.
Guys, I'll be honest. I can be transparent. There's a lot of things that I became self-aware of in my life, really honestly within the last 5 years of my life, that I did not like. I just thought it was very ugly. It was not a good character, and I was trying to figure out where in the heck I picked these traits up at.
Yeah.
And it was in those moments that I started realizing, man, these toxic traits that I have are learned.
Yeah, that real you deep down is going to give you a feeling like, why am I doing this? Like you have that pullback. It's like a pulling sensation. It's like, I just really yelled at somebody and made them feel worse about me.
Right.
That's crazy. You don't even want to forgive yourself.
See, yeah. Okay, we gotta go ahead and slide into the next topic, because we could talk about this for a while, and we can actually tie this into the some later episodes. So we'll definitely keep that moving. Yeah. The next topic that we have is people should stop saying what is a real man and what is a real woman.
Agreed.
That's a heavy one right there.
Yeah.
And that might make some people feel some type of way.
Yeah, you know what? I think this is, and like I didn't have my emotional needs met as a child, right?
God.
So this is why I'm so sensitive to other people's feelings, because I know what it's like, to have mine disregarded, So I think this, because people just look at things on the surface. You don't understand how your words affect people.
Right.
So I think it could be a form of abuse.
For sure.
You know what I mean? To tell someone that you don't approve of them in this way, because that's pretty much what it is. I feel like you should be doing more than you're doing, or I feel like you should be doing this differently, even though I have no experience in like where you are in life. I should have no business telling a woman that, a real woman should be picking up my shoes at the door. It don't matter what time you're in. Everybody wants to talk about, you want to, what's the buzzword now? Traditional man. You want a traditional woman. Ain't nobody out here churning butter on a porch, right?
Man, it's 2022, dog. Go to the store.
I can't believe it's not. Okay, no, seriously. So everybody, everything evolves.
Right.
But for some reason, when people want their needs met, healthy people will communicate. Okay. Unhealthy people emotionally will do any other thing than communicate, or they'll just communicate ineffectively.
True that.
So how do you feel about that?
Okay. So I agree with probably everything you said. I was going to say majority, but mainly everything you said. I think that we have a habit as people of telling people of different genders what they should be. And we speak as though we have personal experience, and that's dangerous. Because as a woman, I don't want a man telling me how to be a woman. Right. A man can't tell me how to be a woman until he can understand what it feels like to have cramps, until he can understand what it feels like to have a monthly cycle, until he can understand what it feels like to be hormonal and birth children. You can't tell me how to be a woman. You've never done it. You can tell me what you've seen, but you've never actually experienced it. So you can't put stipulations on it. And even further than that, I feel like it's hard to even say that anybody can define what a real woman or a real man is, because everybody's perspective of what is considered real, quote unquote, is going to be different.
Absolutely.
I might think that a real man is a man who has a job and who takes care of house and home. You might think a real man is a man who makes 6 figures and has a nice car and can get women. We are not the same.
Right.
So I think it's dangerous for any sex to tell anybody what a real man and a real woman is, because again, I think it's subjective.
You know what it reminds me of? Like how it's football season, right? Mm-hmm. And the guys are on the field doing their thing, and somebody drops a pass or they do something, and the people on the couch are like, oh, this guy sucks. Yeah.
And it's like, bro, but you're on the couch. This dude is in a professional sport, whether they sitting on the bench, whether they on a practice squad, right? Obviously they better than you,
right? They've been doing this their whole life.
Like literally, you've been a spectator of sports. There's a lot of people that actually play sports, and I can see where they're coming from a little bit, but people that have never touched any sport in any capacity trying to tell a professional player that they suck or that they need to learn how to, man, come on, man. Let's be real.
This is like, you can't open the curtains and look into anybody's life and say, I could do that better than you. Ain't no way.
Because you don't know. You don't even know what they experience on a personal level. Like, not even saying on like some, they may have like drama at home, or like, you don't even know what they're dealing with internally. Like, there's a lot of people that have a lot of silent internal battles with themselves.
Absolutely.
And a lot of that has to do with identity. A lot of that has to do with dealing with trauma, growing up. A lot of that has to do with a lot of stuff. Yeah. So I think it's unfair, again, to try to judge a person based on your perspective of the world. That's not fair.
No, not at all. And these people, people of society, they, like you're saying, they could be going through anything. I just think about it this way. A lot of people say they don't trust people, but you drive on the highways.
Man, listen.
How do you know the person next to you isn't just ready to end it all?
Listen, me and my wife definitely had this conversation not too long ago, and we talked about how you never know what a person is dealing with when you're in a car. And that's why you see road rage incidents, because that person literally might have been having a horrible day. Yeah. And you cutting them off or throwing the middle finger or cursing them out might have been the last straw that broke the camel's back, And to us, it's like, oh my gosh, well, that's crazy. You blew it out of proportion. Well, yeah. But at the same time, it's like, you never know what a person's dealing with. Right. Maybe you blew it out of proportion by being road ragey. Like, sometimes it's your fault. And I can even attest to that. Sometimes it's my fault. Sometimes I'm not right. Yeah. Sometimes I'm cutting people off. Sometimes it's me that's making mistakes on the road. And I could cause a road rage incident. Yeah. Or I can choose to be self-aware and understand that we all got problems out here. Yeah. And I can't fix someone else's issues, especially not in the car. Yeah. Me running you off the road is not going to change the fact that you cut me off too light to go. You know what I mean? Like, I try to make a conscious effort daily to not react. And listen, I'm not going to lie. It's hard.
It's hard. It's hard.
It's hard. I have my days where I try not to react so much. Then I have other days where I'm pop, pop, pop on my horn and I'm saying curse words and things like that. And after I do it immediately, I'm like, man, why you do all of that?
Yeah.
Because now that it's over,
right.
What did you accomplish?
Oh, my goodness.
What did you get? What did you accomplish? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. Besides being mad now. Now you mad.
Right. It's spilling over. It's spilling over to other parts of your day. Spilling over in your home life.
Exactly.
It's not worth it. But, pretty much, I'm just saying, just be kind to people. Like, this is a very simple concept. We tried everything. Treat people how you want to be treated.
Yeah.
There's so many things out there that are telling you the same thing. And honestly, your life is so short in the grand scheme. You know what I mean? So are you going to spend your life speculating other people's lives, judging other people? And you don't even have to be mean to yourself. A lot of people get down on themselves. Oh, I'm not perfect and I'm this and I'm that. Be kind to yourself too. And that's a foreign concept to a lot of people. Even me, before, I was horrible to myself. If I said the things that I said to myself to a friend, they wouldn't be my friend anymore.
Listen, again, that's exactly why it's important to be self-aware. We just like we have good thoughts, we have bad thoughts.
Yep.
And again, a lot of that is fueled from ego, self. We'll talk about that again later in the season. Yeah. A lot of that is stemmed from not being self-aware. Again, once you become self-aware, you understand where things stem from. You're again, you might not agree with everything that happens around you, but you understand things. And when you understand things, you act accordingly. If I understand that a person is going to have erratic behavior, I'm not going to pretend like I don't know this is going to happen. I'm not going to lash out or make a scene. I already know what it is. I'm going to act accordingly.
Yep.
I understand that this is how this person behaves.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that I'm going to be able to do about that. That's just what that is. I'm going to make sure that I'm acting accordingly. Absolutely. Because the only person that I am responsible for is myself.
Absolutely.
That is it, and that is all. So I said all of that to say, listen, guys, check your toxic traits. Become self-aware, and please check your toxic traits. Yeah. Just like you learned them, you can unlearn them. And I promise you, you will feel better about you.
Absolutely.
You will feel better about you, and you will feel better about your environment. And it'll make you not want to be around toxic things. You'll start to realize all the other toxic things you are around, and you will move around.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't have anything else on this topic. I think this is just something for people to self-reflect on.
Absolutely.
And, hopefully everybody, if it changes one person, that's all we can do. I'm happy about that.
Everybody got to start somewhere. This is a starting point. This is just so you can self-reflect and so that you can get yourself together so you can make it happen.
All right. This is the Flight Podcast, y'all. So make sure you catch us on Spotify, YouTube. We're putting up TikTok stuff.
Anchor, Instagram, Facebook. Man, you name it. Wherever you can catch a podcast, we on there.
Yeah.
Okay? We on there.
Let's give good stuff to the soul, man.
Got to. We're gonna be dropping episodes pretty quickly. We want to give the people what they want. We definitely want to hear y'all feedback. So make sure you go like, subscribe, and follow Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. It's gonna be Flight Podcast. Check us out. Yeah, we appreciate you.
We're here.